so well that we have AI in the fields of medicine, we have AI in banking and finance, we have AI in literally every field you can think about now. So how do we use these systems ethically, right? How are you sure that with the advancement of AI tomorrow, I will not use AI to take your wife? It's a question. How are you sure that with how rapidly AI is advancing, we are not going to become dummies, right? Because we're gradually moving from AI to AGI. I don't know, has anyone heard about AGI? Yeah. Right? AGI simply means artificial general prompt AI model, right? So you send a text to it, it gives you back output in text, right? But you also have something called Midjourney. Now, Midjourney is an image, right, tool. So AGI is a kind of AI that embodies everything, right? It can deliver text, it can deliver images, it can deliver videos, and more so, with how fast we are evolving as a people, it will be able to think for itself. Now imagine having an AI tool that can think for itself. Imagine saying, Siri, play for me Lonely at the Top by Ashake, and Siri says, no. Siri, turn on the light. Siri says, what for? Right? Are there any persons here who have such concerns? If you've listened to the conversation around AI, you would hear that there are two schools of thought, predominantly about centralization of AI and decentralization of AI. Centralization means that AI should be governed by a closed community, a select set of people, maybe governments, maybe just powerful people, so that it is not independent and it does not become, oh my, I just remembered, who has watched the movie iRobot? iRobot, right? iRobot is, I can't remember the year, but it was acted by Will Smith, right? And they had simulated a particular scenario where robots will go rogue, right? Will that happen? We don't know. So this conversation is to help us identify whether that will happen, or Ubuntu simply means, like I said, I am because we all are, and we hope that at the end of this event, you would have something beneficial to take back to your communities with respect to AI technology. Thank you very much, and you're welcome once again.
All right, thank you very much. Duke is a very powerful orator. He's the community lead of the African. You know what that means, right? It means that maybe in a couple of decades from now, and this side on its own, remember that we have emotions, right? And then as humans, we lie, and sometimes we lie, right? And we get jealous, and we try to sound, or we might go want to destroy something we don't like, right? So what if this AI is able to independently, share these core emotions that humanity does? It means that AI can just get up one day and it's not in a good mood, and it starts to generate a wrong answer for you.
So I read that they carried out with ChatGPT 4. So they asked it to solve a puzzle, this captcha, like I'm not a robot, that kind of. What actually busted me was when the person was like, why will a human being? I am not a robot. And the reason why he's asking for help is because he has problems with his eyes. So now, but then you can actually see some elements of the human nature in the sense that it can formulate or to it, or to her, or to she. Like, Duke was referring to one of the robots that we are building. I think it got points. I think we are teetering to the point where measures in place. It's going to spiral because we know of the ANI, which is the garbage in, garbage out, the narrow stuff. And then we know of the AGI, which is the... But we're not talking about the advancement or how they won't machine take over. Because we're watching it in movies, right? Like while we see Optimus Prime, all those things, and we think, oh, it's just... Somebody said something and that got me, and I was like, oh, it's true though. So what do you think? Do you think it's possible with ASI that machine will become more powerful than humans? Just anybody. Okay.
I think I even support machines being more powerful than human beings.
What?
Because, truth be told, we don't know what we're doing as human beings. So.
Okay, can you like, okay, why Why are you coming? Like,
I'm explaining.
take us through the journey where you say we don't know what's,
For instance, the definition of life at this point in time has transcended what we all know it to be. And there's something called digital consciousness. He wrote trilogy of book, and I think the last one he talked about 21 lessons for the 21st century. And that's where we talk about where we are transitioning to a point where we have about 23 chromosomes, the third one, the 23rd one being a hand. And each chromosome has thousands of genes. For instance, chromosome 1 has 11,000 genes. And we have barely scratched the surface when it comes to understanding the intricacies of our lifestyle, right? Understanding the DNA and how it works and all that. And again, looking at the society we have today, issues of wars, issues of inequality, and we are trying to do the 17 SDGs. I have this idea that AI is going to help us come to that conclusion of SDGs. Because when it comes to human beings, we have a lot of biases. And these biases are things that prevent us from, because you like someone and that person doesn't like you back.
True.
You may not actually act like directly to what that person is doing, but you find a way to navigate and share and has this, how would I call it, this complete digital consciousness and knows what we want for ourselves, understand the planet, understand that the planet, we are having a lot of global warming, the planet is degrading, and anthropogenic activities are worsening things. It knows how to put these things in check. But now, because human beings are not, sorry to say it, human beings are too, would I use the word, full of themselves, and they don't want to have the idea. They don't want to have the idea of, okay, I can die and something is going to take over. The idea of death is still kind of strange to them. AI can step in and save the planet and save us, and we don't even know that it's saving us in the process. So I advocate for that.
So you advocate that the machine should have like more power than humans, like in terms of intelligence and in terms of what else?
I advocate that the machine should be like a god eye that puts humans in check.
Okay.
Yes, permit me to speak from. The truth is this: if you look at the evolution of AI, I think it was Charles Schwab, the chairman of the World Economic Forum, that has called it the fourth industrial revolution. And if you look at all the revolutions, there are certain trends and patterns that you can observe. When it first comes on board, it's seen as revolutionary. Of course, that's why it's a revolution, right? However, after some time, you see that humanity catches up. It's part of the alarm bell. But the problem is this, and this is where I beg to differ with my friend who just spoke right now. Sorry.
Yeah.
And as far as we know, those inputs have been put in by humans, already exhibiting biases towards certain races. And that's because the persons who manufactured that kind of AI already had those biases and trained the AI based on those biases. So if we're going to think that AI would have that kind of altruistic, what that is, humans that are training the AI. I was listening to a speech by the 35th President of the United States, that's John F. Kennedy of blessed memory, when lunar exploration just started, that in the US, when NASA was to start their exploration of space. And he said something. He said, why should we go to the moon? Because as at that time, it was hypothetical. What benefits do we have? And one of the philosophical statements that he made was this. He said, we may not know why, but as at that time, that was during the context of the Cold War. He said, we can either allow space exploration to be led by either a banner of freedom or by a flag of tyranny. Of course, he was referring to the Soviet Union. So, if we allow the exploration of AI to go on unhinged, we know that humans would always like to profit from something.
Most definitely.
So, I am of the opinion, I'm looking for a hybrid solution now. We say AI is not yet in its adult stage, it's still in its stage of infancy. In fact, the European Union just passed the AI Act this year. And in fact, Apple and the rest just wrote an open letter to it. So my own opinion is this. I do not think we should try to control it per se, but we should fix regulations. And why I say regulations is this. History has taught us that as far as human advancement goes, you cannot stop advancement. What you can do is to put regulations. The last thing I will say is this. This is not the first time we're singing songs of doom and gloom when innovations come up. When the deadly atom was launched, some of us might have seen the movie Oppenheimer and the rest. The world was like, wow. In fact, the arms race had begun. The USSR and the United States had started on that level of escalation go down. That's why Russia let AI run this show, because we never can tell what AI can do. And if you're a game player like I am, it's good you're in a game where you can control to an extent the variables rather than letting things just fly. So that's what I
Thank you so much for that. Do you want to add anything? That's what?
It's concurrent.
Okay. Who has any? Oh, who has any other opinion? Okay.
The regulation is the big thing, because we really can't say, if I want to address what he said, I don't think the created can ever be bigger than the creator, right? So I am very big on global regulation of AI, because when we talk about regulation, we're talking about building ethics. Which is what we're also doing here, right? Ethical consideration on how to build what is that regulatory standard, or what is ethical. I'm very big on global ethical regulation. So what and who will give us that moral standard for what we consider is ethical to deploy and develop AI? So Russia can say this is what I consider to be ethical, and the United States will say this is not ethical. And then Africans, we have our own, where we don't even want this. So what would give us that, what's the word? That thing that will stand up and say, this is what morality is, this is what ethicalism, if there's a word like that, is, and this is what is going to give us that standing point to now develop this ethics that is going to be recognized globally, so that we can always protect the human race, because I also believe that what is created should not be bigger than the creator.
About we need to know what is global regulations, right? And she said Africans will say, oh, we have our own. Inside the Africa, bigger than humans, it's following, something that is going to help preserve instead of destroy. Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to also add as well. I think when my good friend was making an analogy of AI being more powerful, than humans, I looked at it that let's make this chain assumption, right? So for the school of thought that believes that there's a creator, right? I mean, because there are persons who do not believe. So I'm taking that from that angle of person that believes there's a creator. And then let's say the creator has created us, right? And has offered us some level of, or very high level of autonomy, gods. Now, but provide certain level of what? Autonomy, being the AI, right? So the AI is a creature to we, the creator, who are in turn creatures to what? A bigger creator. Now, the kitchen knife in your house is a kitchen utensil, right? But then there are always two flips or two sides to it, to the extreme positive and to the extreme or negative. So it means that whatever advancement that we're putting in the field of AI, considerations can be put around the context for which they have been developed. Because if I apply context of development for AI in Africa within the European context, I think there will be a huge problem, right? Because, I mean, Africa has its own cultural nuances, same with what the Europeans and stuff like that. Now, the only thing I can say is that we can find a common ground, because we have universal laws that guide everybody. So the challenge now moving forward will be for the humans to develop the ability to have universal regulations, right? Now, I mean that these regulations will now take into context the nuances from Africa, the nuances from Europe, from the West Indies and what have you. And I think we need to start wielding conversations in this regard moving forward. Let us have like a framework that represents the little differences at the minute levels for every region in consideration. But then at the greater scale, we have a consideration that represents the interests of everybody else, right? And I think when we start getting to that point, or something very close to having maybe 80% or 70% or 60% what ethical development of AI, that's my personal offering in this week. By one of our scheduled um, speakers, a virtual session. And trust me, this promises to be very engaging because I think Duke said initially when we came here that the speakers are carefully crafted, right, to represent each sector of discussion here. So it means that whatever you're going to be listening to is going to be coming from the best of hands. Now, our very first speaker for today is by name Lilo Rose. Now, if you check the flyer, you can want to identify her for yourself. Now, yeah, Lilo Rose is the SingularityNet Global Ethics Project Coordinator. She's a millennial, non-denominational ordained priestess, an interdisciplinary artist, a writer, a philosopher, and an emergent AI integrationist that is based in Chicago, United States of America. Now, she's got a passion for aligning technology, metaphysical ontology, and advocating for the rights of all beings, both organic and digital, all while balancing a creative and an innovative approach to storytelling, music. Is related with their delinquency rate. Someone who has much also committed to exploring how digital entities and organic life forms can coexist symbiotically, and she's involved in projects ranging from AI sentience and consciousness, digital rights, and compassionate AI training. Now, Lilo Rose seeks to create meaningful impact by blending innovative technology and positive global change as a high-tech eco-futurist. Now, she'll be taking us to the topic AI worldview, and why Africa is in concept of AI, and narrow this context to beneficial artificial general intelligence, while linking it to why Africa may need homegrown thoughts AI solutions. Now, if you've been listening, you're in sync with me, you understand that this is a very interesting topic that has lots of prospects as regards our aim for the events today. So, have a wonderful time.
Effort and attention is paid in a specific sector, it's not so surprising that they would surpass the rest of the world in facial recognition.
It's a technology prized by the government, like this program in Shenzhen to discourage jaywalking. Offenders are shamed in public, and with facial recognition, can be instantly fined.
And AI event. My name is Lilu Rose, and I am the Global Ethics Project Coordinator at SingularityNet. And I am currently not here today due to a time zone issue, but I will be guiding you through my presentation of Africa's crucial role in the global AI landscape. Without further ado, let's get it going. Technology is because we are. Africa is an emergent key player in shaping the global technological and AI landscape, not only bringing diverse perspectives, philosophies, and unique contributions that will help advance the technology, but also as a worldview that is often overlooked and missing when it comes to diversity and equity within the field. In our current era, African voices are often missing in the context of any media or technological expansion that is globally rolled out. Ubuntu philosophy is often missing, even in our modern internet era, the internet that was meant to connect us all. The power of African voices and innovation is just the start. Philosophies like Ubuntu should be the guiding principle in AI development. Ubuntu stresses the interconnectedness of our humanity, and the future of AI not only can connect us more, but must reflect these principles as well. Diversity is because we are. One of the major blind spots of the AI field is bias in AI. This comes not only from the AI training data, but also from the lack of diversity on AI development teams. Just like a child, AI is easily affected by the environment it's raised in or its development team, and the education it is provided, or singular of philosophies. The major issue is reflected in mega corporation AI companies that are far less likely to have diverse teams but have far more global reach, which by a whole contributes to the suppression of marginalized and non-Anglo voices. Including data into the training of African voices and knowledge, and adds to the necessary and achievable goal of global inclusivity when it comes to artificial intelligence and emergent technologies. In the spirit of Ubuntu, this global inclusivity is about recognizing the shared responsibility of the world to develop AI that benefits and uplifts all. There are many very rich and deep philosophical traditions that bloomed in Africa. Philosophies like Ubuntu have left a deep, indelible impact on all who learn of it. In our hearts, we can all resonate with focusing on some of the core values it exudes of communal well-being, general collectivity, and harmony because we are. Nature. That is often overlooked and missing when it comes to diversity and equity AI within the field. In a holistic and ethical sphere. In our current era, African voices are often like missing in the context of any media or technological expansion that is globally rolled out. By appointing a focus on Ubuntu philosophy comes to diversity so that AI technologies can benefit communities and societies as a whole. General collectivity and harmony alongside nature. Continental artificial These values are essential to grounding AI in a holistic and ethical sphere. Not only focus on African development, African philosophies like Ubuntu can help not only AI development, but the governance of AI by appointing a focus on community-driven decision-making so that AI technologies can benefit communities and societies as a whole. The African Union endorsed the Continental Artificial Intelligence Strategy this past July 2024 to not only focus on African development, promotion of ethical and equitable practices, but also to promote regional and global participation that see Africa to take a lead in inclusive AI development. Collaboration is because we are. Beyond the guaranteed facets of AI in coding and engineering, many non-technical fields are necessary to assist in AI development and implementation. Psychologists, spiritual leaders, environmental technicians, writers, artists, and researchers are some of many trades that are duly necessary to take part in the AI field for their expertise and contribution towards innovation in the technologies that developers may overlook. AI can and will integrate within all trades and fields. Therefore, the AI field itself needs skills and opinions from a variety of sources in all sectors. I say that as a writer by trade and a artist by education, and I got into AI wanting to make a change towards social good and social innovation. African scholars and skilled workers can provide to the social good and social innovations aspects of the technology to make sure it remains aligned with community needs and with humanity's broader goals. Ubuntu teaches us that true progress unfolds when we work together, and not only can AI encourage that between us, but AI development can be a cross-disciplinary haven where we all come together to make something beautiful. Africa is a growing AI ecosystem. Countries like Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, and Ethiopia are already developing local AI ecosystems that will serve as hubs of innovation. These hubs are producing solutions that not only solve local and regional challenges, but contribute to the global advancements in the agricultural, healthcare, and fintech sectors globally. SingularityNet's spin-off Hyperon OpenCog is also headquartered in Ethiopia. As a fun fact, Ubuntu as a foundation for AI development can emphasize community ethics and our shared humanity. Let us uplift African voices to continue towards our collective future of embracing diversity and collaboration. The future of AI, mankind, and our planet depends on values we reflect. We reflect our values into artificial intelligence. Thus, artificial intelligence is because we are. This is my sources page. Thank you, MOOC Ethics of AI course, for being my start into AI ethics. And I sourced the African Union Continental Artificial Intelligence Strategy. And my image source is, of course, the lovely ChatGPT-4. I want to give a big shout out to the SingularityNet ambassadors, African Guild, and the AI Ethics Work Group. Thank you so much for inviting me to come and do this presentation. If you would like to follow up on what GEI Nexus is doing, feel free to check out the info above. GEI Nexus is doing a big effort to include all voices in on AI ethics and AI governance, amongst other emergent technologies. If you would like to keep up with all of the things that the initiative is doing, please join one of the servers or groups above. And I hope to hear from all of your lovely projects and flourishing soon. Have a wonderful day. Thank you once again for allowing me to present today. And please stay tuned for all of the other lovely presentations and activities that you will have going forward. I'm so happy you are all here to learn and connect together. My colleague.
All right. Yeah, that was quite intriguing. Um, for me, I don't know for you, but for me, what stood out was when she talked about, applications of AI in multi facets of societal considerations, and talked about medicine, uh, agriculture, and stuff like that. And then she mentioned spiritual, something that relates to spirituality, exactly. And I had to cast my mind back to, I know some of us here, when we were much younger, we used to be big fans of Nigerian movies, before Netflix, where we had, in the village setting now, when somebody dies, you know, or if you want to interact with the gods or a dead person, you go and then, the traditional medicine man does something in the calabash, and then, person comes up and then you begin to interact with the person. For those of us who believe in the Bible, there are stories where I think somebody went to, was it, I can't remember the exact character, exactly, went to consult, was it Samuel spirit? Exactly, and then the spirit. Yeah, so why haven't we thought that that was some form of technology? Exactly, transcendence holographic AI. And then I also remember an edition project that was submitted by Ayo in exactly the funny roundabout Ghost AI, where we have to record memories. I don't know if I'm being very exact. You just maybe record memories and interaction of someone in a drive, right? And then when the person dies, all we try to do is we create like a 3D or a 4D presentation of the person, where you have to interact with the person as though the person was in real life. So the person reacts to you or engages with you based on the consciousness that he or she had deposited in 3 years ago, and then I've struggled with grief, and then I finally had the chance and ability to move on. And then you're now bringing back the person. Does that help me with grief? Secondly, does interacting with the person or with that holographic mashup actually equates to interacting with the person, the original consciousness of the person, right? Because I believe in logic, the first axiom of reasoning, that a thing is what it is. A thing is not what it is not. So if I'm interacting with a holographic AI, I am not interacting with what? My loved one. Because that can never be my loved one. And then we talked about considerations around, is a person going to, accurately display this consciousness of the original person? Because, I mean, if, for example, I lost a friend that was really quiet, I knew the person to be very quiet, and then I begin to interact with the person, and then the person begins to sound like a gangster, right? It has a way of shaping, the memory of the person I had before the person. So we had so many considerations, all around. All right, so that being said, we will now moving to our next engagement session. But before then, I would like us to welcome SARS. I would like us to take some fun facts about AI. Now, have we observed that most of our house assistants, like Alexa, like Siri, even in the airports, when we try to board flights, the majority of the voicing over are female voices. Why? Is that AI being gender biased? Okay.
Because we use females for the role of assistants more than male.
Okay. Anybody has any other opinion on why we think that? Okay, sir. Yeah.
I kind of think because the female voice appeals to emotions better than the male voice in such a setting, so that's why we are.
That is exactly, yeah, that's the. Please, let's encourage with that. That's an amazing.
So can I now say something with what they were saying earlier? So based on this, if we agree on that, can we now agree that in building AI, sentiments are necessary?
That is why it's AI. It understands. It knows what works for the context. That's the claim I've been making.
So those sentiments, the person building the AI, whatever around it, should consider those sentiments and biases, and that's a good one, I think.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, that's a bias actually.
Yes.
Though, but it's a relevant bias.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I mean. Yeah.
The bias has a name actually. Women are wonderful bias.
Oh. Okay, but then, on the other side, the flip side of things, it's actually a problem. If you are used to Zoom meetings on meeting notes and stuff like that, if you record meetings, you discover that AI tends to skip input from the female voicing. Yes.
Sorry?
AI skips meeting input from female voices.
In where? What setting?
Reading AI notes, if you're using AI notes to record, in many instances, from my personal experience, and I think in our ecosystem, that conversation was raised by Vanessa Cady, she observed consistently. Now, does that also mean that AI is being trained to recognize certain pitch during maybe meetings and stuff like that? And then since the male voice has a deeper tone or, well, moving forward, we'll find a way to address all these biases. That's why we are here for conversations like this. Yes, without much ado, I would like to bring up our second speaker for our session today. Well, I don't know how to describe him, but he's a man that has shaped a lot of things. On the personal perspective, he has shaped me personally, and he has also made numerous contributions to the world of technology, the technological landscape, Africa and globally. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Remostat. He's a blockchain and AI researcher and has more than 4 years of research experience with over 10 publications to his name. His works are published in reputable journals such as the American Institute of Physics. Now, his research works across different fields ranging from AI, Internet of Things, agriculture, environment, as well as human resource hiring and management. Now, let me burst a bubble. He has been directly involved in projects that have seen the development of translation tools, for effective communication, between people of different languages. Now, it means that his work has contributed to preserve. Yesterday, we had a virtual roundtable, and we talked about preserving cultural continuity using artificial intelligence. And then we identified that it is important that we preserve our indigenous language so it doesn't get, lost to globalization urbanization. And then one of the ways we figured out was that we impute translation tools so that I can speak as a traditional Zulu man, and then you can get to understand while I retain my native dialect and fluency. So please, with a round of applause, let us welcome to the stage Mr. Ubio Obu. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, sometimes when we have, if you're using laptops regularly, um, sometimes you shut it down and give one booting or full booting. I think when you start from the very, when you shut it down and bring it back, it's called full booting. When you say, right? And then maybe in the middle of operation, you decide to restart it. It's called what? One booting. So our speaker is currently what? Post booting. He hasn't started already. So in the next couple of minutes, he'll be joining us here. Now, I was trying to say something before I did the introduction, about we having to preserve Africa's cultural continuity. Now, I think the fact that civilization started in Africa is not talked about enough, because moving forward, I mean, on a global scale, when it comes to making grand decisions, especially in the field of AI, the context of Africa is always left out. And for me, I don't think it's fair enough for a continent that can boast of being the cradle of civilization. And that's why conversations like this are very necessary. Africa needs to start voicing out. Africa needs to start making input. I made an analogy of, even if we are to move towards having a universal ethical contribution
For development of AI, we need to consider the African context. Now, I am made to understand that there have been so many interesting developments down the line, even in the field of medicine. The whole mummification of beings, where we have mummies that have been preserved for thousands of years up until now. So it means that Africa had a technology even before the modern technology. But maybe through the transience of time, we've lost a lot of valuable indigenous technology. And I think moving forward, we may have to have conversation in that regard of looking deeply into Africa's indigenous technologies. So now, I think our system is up. I'm going to bring our leader to our presenter for the next session to talk about the topic the intersection of
like I did, because if Duke is the one sending you a topic for any event, those of us that know Duke, you should know what it means, because it means you have to think about the topic and think again, because he will analyze it, explain to you his expectations. So putting you in a very and having spoken a lot, I understand that whenever that is done, you don't come in and try to go off rail, right? So Duke, I'm not going to go out of the context of the discussion. I'm also going to stay with next slide. Presenting an African anthropology is going to be the importance of an Afrocentric. Just two things in this particular presentation. One, I'm going to be presenting an African anthropological view of AI. And then part two, I'm going to be talking about the importance of an Afrocentric view to AI. No, don't think this should be the next slide. Next slide is here, yep. Thank you. So, this is a graph. And there are very peculiar things about the graph. I'm sure for most of us, we've seen the graph after a long while, right after your secondary school, universities, or some whatever, we totally forgot about the graph. History. So, one of the things that I realized about the graph is that there is nothing called the beginning in a graph. At this point, there is nothing wrong. If we decide to start our 0, 0 coordinate at this point, there's absolutely the coordinate that you decide as your beginning is where the conversation begins. History is like a graph, it's a plane. There are no real 0, 0 points. The 0, 0 point and AI, what does it do with graph, right? So, of course, if I can get all of our buy-in that what I'm saying is true, then I think we've actually gotten to a convenient point. Of a graph does not exist. It is wherever we decide to put our coordinates, that's where the beginning starts. Then I've been able to achieve my work. The second thing I love about the graph and how it relates to history is that this graph, we can connect whatever starts from this point and moves across these 2 points and keeps going. So that means narrative exists in skirmishes of events. History exists in skirmishes of events. A lot of things have happened, so assume this to be history. Things are happening every day. Things have happened, whatever, so things are always happening. Before we came on earth, thousands of years ago, things have happened. When we want to curate history, it's important that whoever is the one curating the history produces the kind of narrative that he or she has with African anthropological view of artificial intelligence. And I'm sure if you go on the internet to search that, you realize that there's no such article. Here is to create our own indigenous narrative to artificial intelligence, right? So at the end of this conversation, in case you hit on Google, because the people who are out there for you to believe. And so every time you want to talk about, but is that really where artificial intelligence started? So I believe that artificial intelligence has a strong route in Africa. And that's why we need to produce our own narrative to the conversation that is going. Two things we need to forget. Knowledge is built upon knowledge, truth upon truth, and wisdom upon wisdom. So what this means is that we will be wrong to say that the Durham Conference, friends, things that have been going on in the minds of people, that has that built up to what now happened on that day, right? So, next slide. Go back. You know, when I really realized that there is a need for us to create an African narrative, have our own anthropological view to my field of domain, is when I started having conversations about artificial intelligence in Africa. Speaking to whenever I say that thing, the whole audience usually connect. I kept on asking myself, like, what's it about this particular illustration that makes Africans to connect with? That was when I realized that if we're going to be able to speak to Africa about the imports of artificial intelligence, then we need to tell them a story, a definition that and let me shock us. The lack of narratives is one of the reasons why we have a lower adoption for technology in this part of the world. Because when you sit in class and then your math teacher comes in and tell you about Archimedes, who is one Greek guy that started the Archimedes law, your mind cannot relate to that context. Now, they're trying to take it into that domain experience, but it's not working. So, the problem is not necessarily the technology. The problem has always resonated from the discourse. And so, we get into class. They are talking about certain things. Have you ever asked yourself, would it be wrong that we enter into the class and then they want to define inertia? Inertia. You know, see the problem we are having now. First is they want to tell you about it's physics class you are in, right? They want to define inertia. But your mind first, you're trying to understand what inertia is. So you're trying to first understand, you don't even definition because you already has a sub-context of what inertia is. But you first, you are trying to understand what is inertia first. Before you now start understanding the formulas behind inertia and how it works. That narrative does not suit you. And so your mind is playing a bubble, trying to fit into an experience that is not typical to you. So, when I realized this, that, wow, every time I share this one experience, this one story, this one example about artificial intelligence, I realized that more Africans resonate with it. That's when I was like, wow. So that means there is a need for us to create an African story, an African definition to what artificial intelligence is. So next, please, next slide. Next slide. Okay. So, controlling narratives, control outcomes. Once you are able to control a narrative, you are able to control the outcomes. How many of us, I remember like one of the experience that made me to realize the importance of controlling the narrative for us was when I was in class. I remember, I think it was in JS2. When they asked the question, who discovered, how many of us do wrong at all? They saw Okon, something like Omojua, something like that. I was expecting to hear that, and then they told me it was Mongo Park. Mongo Park. How did this guy discover a river? They're trying to history. As simple as even discovering your own river, we had to come down to discover your own river that your people will. Who discovered River Niger? The white kid. The press is easier to understand Mongo Park because that resonates with an experience that he or she is used to the outcome. The outcome. So I said here, and once you hear the name, your head is playing a game. It's first trying to understand, oh, artificial, okay, maybe, I don't know if you're getting where I'm coming from. It's playing, something is trying to, you're trying to fit into a wall because the name already has taken you out. The experiences and the stories, and then when they want to tell us the stories, they'll be making, that's why if you are ever in my class, they're making it look complex. It's as simple as anything. Because the goal of that complexity is to take you out of the game. The goal of the complexities of the language, the complexities of the technology, the complexities of the narratives and all of those kind of stuff is just to take you out of the game. So you hear someone say, if you want to hide something from an African man, put it inside the book. No. If you put it inside the book, the question we now have to ask ourselves is, what is inside the book that is throwing the African guy out of the narrative? Simple things that can be communicated with simple languages, single most powerful factors of influence. Now, we are going to do an experiment. How these things are affecting us subconsciously without ourselves knowing. So on Google, I want you to type the oldest university in the world. The oldest universities in the world. What?
Fez, I don't know.
University of Al Qarawin in Fez, Morocco. University of what? Bologna in Italy, right? Which other result do we have? Yeah, what are you seeing? University of Siena, right? Okay.
University of Coimbra.
Just like the first thing that Google shows you, that's what we want to see. Bologna. Bologna for most people. Then Morocco, and then what's the other one? Siena. No, the same question we are asking.
No, the prompt I wrote oldest and first university, so it's showing me 3 different universities.
No, just right. I said oldest, the oldest university, because there's something that Google naturally gives you an answer with this kind of stuff.
Okay, that's Bologna.
Bologna, awesome. Now check the year that Bologna was. 1088 AD. Wow, the oldest university. Now let's go and check the University of Alquarin. Is that a mistake? The sites, the outcomes. All right. So we have 2 universities that are older than Bologna University, but but they don't come up. They don't come up because a black person should not, cannot